Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and you know who my next guest is. It's the Savage, Zach Reese, who picked up his first UFC victory, a 20-second KO win over Julian Marquez this past weekend at UFC Louisville. Zach, how are you?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Clearly, though, you must be riding on cloud nine right now. This was your seventh first round finish, but it's your first win in the UFC, which I said earlier. So, I mean, can you kind of compare this to any of your wins in the past, or is this kind of like just a different feeling?
No, this is definitely the cherry on top, man. All the other fights, I prepared just as hard for my amateur fights as I do, for my now UFC fights. But yeah, definitely just absolutely elation, getting the $50,000 bonus, fighting in front of 20,000 people and redeeming that first UFC fight. It feels amazing.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. And I got to ask you, you mentioned the first loss. That was the first loss of your pro career. Did you feel maybe more pressure to go in there in this fight and not just win, but maybe win decisively like you did?
Yeah, definitely. I know in the UFC too, man, you can really turn it around and you're really only as good as your last fight. My last fight went real shitty for me. So yeah, I did feel the pressure of that. Going into that Brundage fight, I got injured like a month out, and it was kind of one of those things where we weren't sure if we should pull out or not. And I stayed in, and hindsight's 2020, and not taking anything away from Cody, he definitely won that fight. But I feel like I didn't put my best foot forward, so it felt great to come out here, healthy and show the world. Like introduce myself to the UFC and their fans.
Just to stick with that topic here for a second, we'll get back to the win over Julian, but you mentioned, the injury. How did that affect you in the fight with Cody? Like, what weren't you able to do that maybe normally you would have?
Yeah, so I got back from Thailand. I was out there for a little over a month, man. My resting heart rate was around 41 beats a minute. I was in phenomenal shape. And then my first sparring session back, I pulled my quad pretty bad. And I ended up with a bunch of bruising. It settled at my knee and up and around my crotch. And for the first week after the injury, I couldn't even walk. So I would literally sit on a bench in my gym, my home gym, and just punch a bag. And I literally did that for a week, man. It was super frustrating. I didn't roll, I didn't spar, and I wasn't able to really even hit pads. My movement was super limited. So the first time I rolled, and a month was during the shakeout, the day of the fight. So with fighting, man, it's all timing, and I just felt not quite as sharp as I would have liked to have been. So yeah, you live and you learn. I didn't really bring it up till after this fight because it spilt milk. I took the
Mhm.
fight, I stepped in there thinking I could still win, and I didn't. So yeah, man, bro, we live and learn. If I can
Yeah.
take it on the chin like a man and just keep going.
How difficult was that though mentally going into that fight with Cody, knowing that you're not close to 100%? What was that? That must have been a tricky thing to go in there and still be 100% positive.
Yeah, for me it was I believed, my coaches, we believed we still had the skill set to beat Cody. Um, obviously it didn't pan out that way, man. But I think that's why I love fighting because you have to have a little bit of that. You have to be able to say F it and push all your chips in the middle and see where the cards fall. And that's what I love about this game. So I still don't regret it. It just is what it is, man. Made a calculated risk and we came up short.
Maybe a rematch down the line with Brundage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You told Paul Felder post fight of this Marquez win that you wanted to be more patient, or that's something that you were trying to do. You clearly didn't have any patience here. You got him out of there really quickly, man. What were you thinking going into this fight against Marquez? I mean, this is a guy, 7 fights in the UFC, a veteran, well rounded fighter. Like, were you anticipating this fight to maybe go deep into the second, third round?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to visualize, man. Honestly, when I say patience and my coaches with patience, just not brawl with them. Be long, use my skill set, and my coaches, we really believed that we would catch him eventually. I thought I would kick him in the head. That's kind of what I had planned, and a lot of his game, I saw myself kicking him in the head and setting it up. But the first few shots that landed were able to put him away. So yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, it had to have been that body kick, right? Because I mean, you landed a combination after the body kick and then finished it up with ground and pound. But that body kick was vicious. Did you know immediately that, okay, this guy's in big trouble? I might be able to get him out of here.
Yeah, 100%, man. I know I kick super hard. Anybody that's held pads for me knows. Shoot, even when I was in Thailand, man, it was hard to get Thai trainers to want to hold pads for me. They would, book sessions and then cancel on the sessions when they saw how big I was, or. So yeah, I knew I kick hard and I knew I landed it super flush and clean, man. I really like that liver kick. I kind of throw it more karate style because I don't really turn my hip over, and I find a lot more success with that kick than a traditional like Thai style round kick, just because it's a lot quicker and it's a lot sneakier, and the trajectory on it's interesting. It kind of comes up instead of over and around. So yeah, I knew as soon as that landed, I was like, oh hell yeah, I could see his body change, I could see him react to it, and a lot of times with those liver shots, it kind of takes a few seconds for the body to register. So I was like, hell yeah, gas pedal, put the gas on him, and yeah, went
You
great.
got him out of there quick, man. You mentioned how big you are, and I know you talked about this a little bit afterwards. My guy Alex Bahunin, basically said, "How the hell do you make middleweight?" That was honestly the first thing that I thought when I initially saw you, man. I was like, "How does this guy make 185?" Please tell me. I mean, you must walk around north of 220. How big do you actually get?
So I try to stay around 205. Yeah, I can be, the biggest I've been is 230. And I took an that's when I got laid off in the oil field and I got back into fighting and I went all in. And so I had a fight at 205, but I like to be at 205, man. I feel like really snappy. I still feel real strong. I've been as heavy in the cage as 210 after making middleweight, and that was on my regional fights. But I kind of don't like that, man, because I feel a little slower and kind of sluggish, and I would rather be snappier and lighter on my feet. So yeah, the weight cuts, man, I've really got it down. I've only sweat for about an hour and a half in total. I always cut weight with my wife, no coaches, no teammates, nobody, and we really don't suffer too bad. But it's a very, I could not make 183. Let's just say that.
You have to be, I would imagine that you have to be very cautious about what you eat in camp to make sure you stay where you need to be to make middleweight. Is that tough? Like, do you have to just not look at certain foods?
You know what, man? This fight camp, I ate so much more. I was doing about 2,800 calories a day uh, in the last 2 weeks, 200 grams of protein a day, and that was really helping with my recovery. No, actually, when I was in Thailand, man, I was having to actually stuff my face because I was training so much that I was just losing weight. So I was actually, I always eat healthy, but I was literally force feeding myself. Every night we'd go to dinner, I would get two entrees just to try to keep the weight on.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. I have that body, man. I don't know if I would lose the weight quick if I ran a lot and just ate like a regular person.
Okay. Well, I think that maybe down the line, maybe there's a chance that we're going to see you at 205. Is that something that, you could say for sure, whether it's 2, 3 years down the line, you're going to be a light heavyweight?
No, I'll probably stay at middleweight, man. Like I said, I'm walking around 205. Yeah, I'm walking around 205. I make the cut to 85. It's not it's a process to make it. It's not like I can just make it overnight or in a few days. But no, I think middleweight's my home. I feel huge, man. If Alex Pereira can make middleweight, and he's honestly, I got to meet him, in UFC Austin, and he's a lot bigger now because he's at 205. But our frames are relatively similar, so I believe if he can make it, I can make it.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I was going to say, I think you might be bigger than Poetan.
No, I don't know about that, man. I shook his hand, and he's a thick boy now at light heavyweight. So yeah, yeah, but similar frame. Maybe when he was at 185, it would probably be similar.
How nice was he in person when you met him? Because he always looks just so intimidating. Like he's got that very stern look on his face. Did he smile at all when you guys met?
No, not at all, man. It was funny. So when I first met him, I was on weight. I just weighed in, and I got a picture with him, but I looked like a crackhead because I just made weight. So I was like, oh hell no. I was like, if I see him again, I'm gonna get a picture. And he had a cowboy hat. I had my cowboy hat on. So I asked him to get another picture, and he said, yeah. And I was joking with my wife that every time I see Alex Pereira, I'm going to ask him for a picture until he says no. He's just going to think I'm a complete weirdo. You know, well, we'll see how many times it takes for him to say no. But yeah, super cool guy, man. He's definitely my favorite UFC fighter. Um, yeah, and what he did at middleweight is something that inspires me a lot. I don't have the kickboxing credentials that he has, but man, he came in and he took the UFC by storm in a relatively short time. So that's definitely something I would love to try to recreate.
Yeah, he is terrifying. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. I interviewed Glover a few years ago this was before Alex actually made his UFC debut. So like people knew who he was from kickboxing, and he beat Izzy a couple times in kickboxing, but like he wasn't known to like the mainstream like combat sports fans, like the guys that follow, UFC and Bellator PFL or whatever. So it took me a little while to realize who the heck he was. Glover, I was interviewing him, and he's like, "Oh, Poatan," and so he comes in the interview. This is virtually like I'm interviewing you, and smiles and was like, "Hey, how are you?" I had no clue who he was until afterwards. And that dawned on me. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's Alex Pereira.
Yeah. Yeah, no, dude, his rise has been nuts. And I mean, man, I love how he fights. He always goes for the kill. Like same thing I kind of want to do. I love his mentality of fighting. I love how I don't know if you saw that video recently where he's talking about after he lost the title. I mean, the dude's a champion, man, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell me, how was the Louisville crowd and the energy that you felt in there?
Yeah, the Louisville crowd, I really wasn't sure what to expect. I'd never been to Louisville, man, but it was like almost what 20,000 people there, and the crowd was badass, dude. Like they lit up, and definitely the best crowd I've ever fought in front of. And yeah, it's definitely an MMA town.
Does it matter for you if you're fighting in front of a crowd like you did in Louisville, or if you're fighting at the Apex? Do you get up one way or the other more?
I prefer to fight in front of a crowd. That's kind of something. If I had the choice, man, I would never want to fight on an Apex card. I want to fight in front of tens of thousands of people. That I mean, man, you know what I always say to myself right when I'm walking out? I'm like, dude, I love this shit. This is awesome, dude. And to just feel the energy of that many people, it's almost indescribable. To have that many people watching, the roar of the crowd, I love the pressure, man. And I feel like I'm one of those guys that, when I feel the pressure, I raise up to it, man. I don't shrink under it. So 100%, I always want to fight in front of a crowd, hostile or in home territory. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the fans want to hear, because you really are must-see TV, man. When you get in there and fight, if you're a combat sports fan, you gotta watch a Zach Reese fight. I loved what you said too, actually with Felder post-fight, where you said, "Louisville, can I get a hell yeah?" I have a suggestion for you. I wanted to ask you, are you like set on one walkout song, or would you change it? Like, tell me what you walk out to now, and or if you have thought about any other songs in the future.
Yeah, so I switch it up pretty much, man. I think Stranglehold Ted Nugent I walked out to the most. Because that shit is like, bro, that shit just gets your blood boiling. Like it makes me just want to go, punch somebody in the face. I walked out to Cody Jinks, Loud and Heavy one time. I walked out to Johnny Cash and Austin, Folsom Prison Blues. And then this one I actually did. I walked out to Morgan Wallen Broadway Girls, which I like. I mean, Morgan Wallen walks out too. I thought it was cool. So, it seemed like the crowd liked it. But yeah, man, I kind of switch it up.
Okay. Well, I have a suggestion, and tell me what you think.
Yeah,
I,
I
I
want to
I
hear it.
love it. I love it when a fighter, becomes synonymous with like a walkout song. Like, Jose Aldo walks out to that Rihanna song,
Yeah,
is coming in the air.
run this town. Yeah,
Yeah, Run This Town. Yeah. And Dustin Poirier always walked out to the same song. And you get that with a lot of fighters. For me, when I heard you and I just see you fight and everything, I don't know what it is, but when you said give me a hell yeah, it just dawned in my head. It would be so cool to hear like the Stone Cold Steve Austin, like
bro.
Shattered
Yes,
Glass, and have you
yes.
walk down to that every fight. I don't know how likely that is, what the copyright's like, or if you have to get his approval, but what do you think of that?
Bro, hell yeah. That's why I threw the hell yeah out there. I just messed it up. I was gonna be like, if that was the most badass knockout you ever seen, can I get a hell? But it's the heat of the moment. But bro, so Stone Cold's originally from Edna, so that's about 45 minutes from me. So I was like, I figured, WWE being in town, I was like, bro, I gotta remember to do it. And yeah, it was cool. It was fucking cool to see everyone. Seeing all the videos from the crowd, the videos my wife got. It was really, yeah, it was
So
awesome.
can we see you walk out to that song, you think, in the future?
Yeah, it's a possibility, bro. I don't know if I ever shave the mullet too. Definitely. You know what I mean? If I ever, yeah, I'll definitely consider it, bro.
Okay, very good. Again, 50K bonus. I mean, you just had your second child. How much does that help? I know how expensive little ones are, man. How much of a benefit was that for you at this stage of your life?
Yeah, a huge relief, man. I had a good job. As I started as a professional fighter, I was, I worked in the oil field, man, and yeah, it's, you don't really make a ton of money fighting on the regional shows. You lose money basically. You know what I mean with the training camp and stuff. So just a tremendous relief, man, that I can, relax a little bit. I don't have to go back to work, and I'm going to invest it all back into fighting. I'm going to be really smart with my money and use it. I'll definitely do another trip out to Thailand, train out there, and I'm all in, bro. So all my resources are focused and going towards fighting right now, and yeah, huge blessing.
What is that balance like, with father duties, being a family man and training? How tricky does that get?
It gets real tricky, man. And like I was saying with my job, I would be gone sometimes 2 months straight, not come home. I'm out working a job, sleeping in a hotel room, getting up at 2:30 in the morning to work out, go to work a day, then come back and have about 30 minutes of free time to go do it all over again. And between that and then when I'm training, I live 2 hours from my gym in Houston. I live in a small town, and and then when I go to Thailand, so yeah, it's a tremendous sacrifice, man. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think to be a man is to sacrifice, and you just have to pick what you're going to sacrifice, And I understand, it sucks. I'm missing time with my family and my little kids, but when I do get time with them, we make the most of it. I don't take anything for granted, so.
How's your sleep these days?
It's all right, man. It's all right. We're getting there. We're getting about 5 hours here and there. That's why I felt bad because my wife, we had another baby, and then I waited about 10 days, and I was like, all right, I got to go to Thailand and train. So I felt bad. I was getting a lot of sleep over there, but nowadays, yeah, not so much.
I can only imagine. My wife and I were trying to have our first one, and I have all my friends have kids, so I just hear what it's like. So I'm right behind you. I'm sure I'll experience that one day soon. Tell me, training at War under Coach Copley, what is it like there? The training partners that you have and the knowledge that you get from these coaches.
Yeah, man. Adam is really a savant. He really understands MMA so much better than a lot of people do, and my coach Jeremy Mahone over there, they're like a perfect balance because one guy's a lot more scientific about fighting, I think, and the other one's a little bit more brutal about it. But yeah, those guys have just leveled me up, so much. I came to War about 4 years ago, and I'll be honest, I kind of, I wasn't very good then, and these guys have just really invested in me a lot, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And then my coach Chris Herrera in San Antonio, we've been together since I was an amateur, so and we thousands of rounds together, man. And yeah, War Training Center. I think we have a whole nother. I'm the first of this new wave of war fighters you're going to see in the UFC. Josh Snow, Josh Walker, sorry, Karan Reed, Anthony Ivy's about to be back in the big show. Rain Guerrero, Tonio Figueiredo, James Ford, Kyle Totter. Like, there's so many of these like young kids that are like super hungry, and I take a lot of pride in being that first one to kind of kick the door open for them for this new wave of War UFC fighters.
Yeah, no doubt. Can't wait to see what's next all the guys from War. I want to get your thoughts on the top of the middleweight division right now. Dricus is facing Izzy. I think it's in August that fight was scheduled for. What do you see in that fight? What's your prediction there?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, bro. I obviously love how both guys fight. I think one of my teammates, Trevin Giles, fought Dricus, and he said that Dricus is very he's unorthodox, obviously, and he's weird with kind of how he hits shots. So we'll see if Izzy can pick him apart, or if Dricus is gonna walk through him, man. I think Sean kind of probably did a blueprint a little bit on how to beat Izzy, but yeah, we'll see, man. I think it's probably close to a 50-50 fight, to be honest with you, and I'd be interested to see what the betting odds say.
It's going to be fun too. I think with the bad blood, it's just going to add more to that fight. Hamzat and Robert Whitaker is right around the corner too. What do you think we're going to see in that main event fight?
I think if Hamzat gets him down in the first, I think Hamzat wins. But I wouldn't be surprised, man, if he's not able to get him down. If Robert Whitaker is gonna, I would say Robert Whitaker decision. I could see Robert being able to stuff the takedowns. He's a big, massive middleweight. He's fought the best in the world. He's super explosive. Great jujitsu. Doesn't get taken down easily. So yeah, I think Whitaker maybe a decision is what I would lean on that.
I love Bobby Knuckles, one of my favorite guys to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Last thing for me before I get you out of here today, Zach, time frame of your next fight. When do you think that we will see you next? And I mean, I don't know if there's anyone on your tongue that you want to call out, but I mean, is there a name or two that you feel like might make sense for your next one?
Yeah. I think September would be cool, man. There's that UFC card at the Sphere. I would absolutely love to do it. My wife is a degenerate gambler, so it would be a perfect time to go to Vegas. No, I'm kidding. She's not a gambler, but nah, man, that would be amazing. That would be historic. I'm relatively healthy. Um, yeah. I think September, man. There's a few guys, that I kind of want to fight that maybe have similar records or in kind of a similar spot in the UFC with me right now, and two more fights on my first contract, and then earn that second contract and start cracking the top 15.
Can't wait to see you back in there, man. Again, congrats on your first UFC win. It was a pleasure having the opportunity to interview you here for the first time today. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Yeah, bro. Well, thank you so much for having me on, man. And want to thank obviously my family and my coaches and my team. Iron sharpens iron. I really believe that. And yeah, I'm so stoked and honored all the new fans I've got from this last fight. Man, I hope everyone enjoys my fights and know that when you tune in that I'm definitely going to bring it every time. It will be kill or be killed every time. And yeah, I'm just bringing the savagery, man, every fight.